Hello and welcome along to a brand new season from this FM21 Builder Nation story from Bangor City with me, Daniel. It's past 75 today and we start our 9th season in charge. We're back with Champions League qualifying action as always. The second qualifier we're back for against Cluj. We know the Romanian side are very, very good and they're going to be a stern test for us today. We've gone out at this stage in both of the last two seasons. And we're sort of in a bit of a quandary really, because if we get to the group stages of the Champions League, as we saw 3 years ago when we made it by chance, we had a luckier draw, we got loads of money into the club, but we didn't improve the coefficient of the nation that much. Whereas this time, if we can get into Europa League or Europa Conference group stages, as we have the last couple of years, we actually improved the coefficient more, despite making less money and being in a lesser competition. So it's going to be an interesting one, but of course for Bangor City now, we want the best. We'll keep an eye on how the other Welsh sides are doing as well. So if you're looking forward to that and you are enjoying the series, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below for daily FM21 content from 2 long-term stories. And we also had our first Twitch stream over the last few days. So if you haven't seen that one yet or haven't given it a try, you can find that in the description down below. But a massive thank you for your incredible support as always. And let's get into the new season with Bangor. We've already played the first 2 qualifying matches, so the 2 legs of the first knockout round. Now, what we've got to bear in mind here is the fact there's also been a big transfer window. And it's been a really frustrating one. A few of you have been asking, and I've been talking about it down in the comments, what our sort of hopes are for the next year or two with Bangor. Of course, in 2 years, we'll have our 10-year review, and we'll mark our progress at that point. But what we want to try and achieve here is worldwide scouting very quickly, because that is the thing that's going to unlock new players to us that we wouldn't have otherwise got. Youth internationals from sort of mid-range nations that are just around us in the coefficient level. Their leagues aren't as reputable as England, but we can get players in on relatively modest wages. Doesn't matter what the transfer fee is, because we've got that money in the club, but sound investments that will allow us to build quality squads for the future. Because at the moment, we're fighting for sort of released players from the Middle English leagues or young players from the top leagues. And we're getting outbid financially by Championship and League One clubs. And we just can't compete. Because even the league reputation, although it's gone up to 2-star this summer, it's a positive thing. It still only puts us on a par with League Two and the Irish Premiership. And that doesn't really allow us to go all out for the big players. So that's the next hope for the future. But what we have done this year, we've increased our scouting range to Europe. We've moved some of our transfer fee over. And we've tried to expand the wages modestly. So we've been offering up to around £4,000 a week. Previously, it was 1.5 or 2 was the limit. So now we're going to expand a bit on what type of players we can try and bring on loan. We can try and get a few slightly out of range players back into the club on permanent deals. But it still has caused frustration, and we'll talk about why in a moment. Let's firstly talk about the deals though that have been done. So if we go back to the end of last season, we did mention him towards the end of the last episode, but Darragh Leahy joined us in mid-April. He comes in to be our backup left-back for this season as Kieran Clark left the club. Clark wanted £650 a week. He was injury-prone after his long-term one, and he wasn't really improving. So Darragh Leahy's in. He's slightly better. He's more experienced, but he'll do a job for us in the league this season. This year, though, it's been sort of mixed. We haven't been able to get anybody in, which is a massive frustration. There's a couple of loan players that are almost over the line and will be able to join us soon. But we'll talk about why we've not been able to get anyone in a moment. However, some of our better young players have gone out on loan to other Welsh clubs, which is a good sign. So Sean Rickards, the young left-back, has gone to Carmarthen. He'll hopefully get football there. And TNS have brought in Gwyn Morgan, the right-back. He's going to be a good player. Not sure how much he'll play for them this year, but he's at another pro club, so he should continue to develop. And they've also brought in Stefan Banks, who was one of our good young centre-halves we couldn't find space for. So the fact that he's gone there and hopefully he'll get football this season should be a promising sign for some of our youngsters. The other side of that, though, is that we've not been able to get rid of the likes of Sean Banks on loan, Martin Tranter on either a loan or a permanent, Ryan Hughes and Dean Rogers we've offered on loan, no offers for either of those. It is quite a frustration when we get to that level, but still, 3's better than none, so a positive sign to start with. We've managed to bring back Brooks and Weaver for another season of loan, as we mentioned. But then comes all of the frustrations. So let's go and get through them to show you exactly what I mean. So firstly, Salem Alzabad, out of contract at his club. We offered him a deal. We went out for around £3-4 a week. He accepted the offer, but of course there were other clubs in for him. Huddersfield offered him £27,000 a week, which even with our huge financial balance, our board won't let us offer. So as much as we want players like this to join the club, we're willing to push the boat out a bit. we can't compete because Huddersfield, they've got a bigger reputation and they've offered massive money. And now players like that just slip through the net. If we go and have a look at the other end of that scale, which was Ian Hampson, who we had on loan last year, he was also a free agent. He accepted a deal with us, sort of 3-4 grand a week again. I think it was about 3.5 if I remember right. But he's gone to Plymouth for 500 quid a week because they've got a bigger reputation and they're in a bigger reputation league. So a player that we've offered 8 times the money to, or 7 times the money to, we've offered him European football, we've offered him a chance to start at right back, and he's chosen to go to Plymouth, who are currently in League 2, which is a 2-star reputation league just above ours. It's such a frustration. So we're now limited to looking for the best Welsh youngsters who have been released and for top loan players. There are 2 markets at the moment. So I've got no problem with pushing the boat out wage-wise and getting to that sort of 2, 3, 4 grand a week. If we go beyond that, we A, can't afford to offer that loanee because that's what the board are limiting us to. And secondly, we're not really able to offer that because if we have one bad season European-wise, we lose money and quite heavily as well. So they are the limitations at the moment. There are some positives. The league has gone up to 2-star reputation as we suspected it would do. If I go and show you the competitions, we've moved up about 10 places I think. We're up there with League 2 now. There we are. We're right below League 2, just below the Irish Prem. We're getting there, I think it's fair to say. I'm just looking for whereabouts in Scottish football we are. We're well above Scottish League 1. The Scottish Championship is at the higher end of 2-star. So really, once we get to 2.5-star, the league can then start to bring in League 2 and Scottish Championship players. And that's when we'll see a development across the whole nation. But for now, we're still waiting. It's going to be a little while before we get there. Or will it? Because that's going to be dependent on what happens in Europe. And of course, the good news we've got this season is 2 of our sides are starting their campaign a bit later because they're in the second qualifying round. Barry played in the first qualifier. I'll show you how they got on in a moment. TNS and Aberystwyth straight into the second. There's bad news to come on TNS as well. But next year, we'll have all 3 in the second qualifier because we've moved up from 30th to 28th. And that's why our game against Cluj is so important today because their nation has swapped with us down to 30th place. And what we've got is 3 sides who will go straight into the second qualifier. And if one of them gets a lucky draw or one of them has a run and gets to the group stages of the Europa Conference, there's £2.5 million. They can go professional. It makes a massive, massive difference. So that is a big positive moving forward. We've moved up a few places as well, but no real massive changes at the minute. We're in a position where we've got one more poor year to drop off, where we'll improve next season because all of the clubs are going to do better. But then our biggest year is the following season. So that's when we got all the way to the quarterfinals of the Europa Conference, remarkably. And that isn't going to be replicated. You've seen the last 16 is our limit recently. So I'm a bit worried about the year after that. But for now, we've just got to keep pushing ourselves up. Just before we get into the Cluj doubleheader though, let's go and have a look at how Barrytown United got on in their first qualifier. And I can confirm it's very good news. Because if we have a look at them, they won 5-0 on aggregate against the Maltese side Santa Lucia. They now face reputable opposition from the Czech Republic who have got some brilliant young players themselves. That man is a quality young player. He's got a 4-star scout report for us. Should we go and scout him, see what happens? Don't think that's natural really. But wonderful to see them come through the first qualifier and comfortably as well. There is some confusing signs at TNS though, and that's where I don't quite understand things. Have a look at their squad. Because they have transfer listed all of their key players from last year. Billy Vigart transfer listed because he won't sign a new deal. Harry Manton transfer listed, surplus to requirements apparently. Tom Clifford still marked as their key player and the best player at the club, no longer require his services. And Ronan Hughes was on the transfer list, but he seems to have been taken off again now. So I don't quite understand what's going on. Every time they kick on, every time they improve, they kick themselves in the backside. So the Tom Clifford one I'm keeping an eye on because he's actually better than Leahy. And if there's an offer from an English side, we'll probably come in and we'll probably offer decent money just to try and boost the nation. I think that's something we have to do at this point. I've got no problem with coming in and offer what an English side would get for him, which is 150, 200 grand. And if that improves TNS as well, then great, we'll try and do it. But for now, it's all about us against Cluj, the Romanian side. A massive game coefficient-wise, so hopefully we can do well. And I just want to get to the third qualifier, so a guaranteed group stage football. Because again, that will allow us to try and push the boat out in transfers. We have a look at the lineup we've gone for. It's exactly the same as we did in the first qualifier. We were really comfortable there. We won 5-0 and 3-0 against Ferevar of Hungary. Dean and Duffy with a brace in the first leg. Cottrell got one as well. And then Duffy with a brace and Riley with one. He's covering at centre-half at the moment in the second leg. Tom Jones came off the bench in the first leg. Unfortunately, he's picked up a 4-week knock now. So the first little stunt in his development, but still a very good pro. So this is the lineup we've gone for. We've gone for Riley at centre-half. Harvey Lewid improving in a holding role. Luca Cannell's in for Williams. Just started pre-season better. And Cottrell in for Jones, of course, who is out with that injury. So that means it's George Wickens in goal. Hankin and Weaver the fullbacks with Riley and Badebo at centre-half. As you can see, we're weaker again at centre-half with Hampson and Alzabad not rejoining. Harvey in the holding role, Cannell and Brooks in the middle, Cottrell in the number 10, and Duffy and Dean up front. A couple of very slight tweaks to our tactic, but still very much the same. And with a lack of exciting transfer news, of course, it's just focus on the players that we know very well. So into the first leg we go. We're heading away to Romania. Let's just hope we can get out on top, because this is a very important game in the grand scheme of Welsh football. And here we go. We'll have a look at which of these players is real in a moment. I'm sure Vieru, the skipper, is. He might have even been scouted, I think. One of the problems we've got is the players that are willing to join us. None of them are better than 3.5 star ability. And for us, most of our squad's 3 star anyway. So to spend 500 grand and not really improve the starting 11, it's a real difficult dilemma we're in with Bangor at the moment. And I just feel we need another year before we can really go all the whole hog on the squad. And maybe scout players from further afield than England too. As Fesnic gets in early on for Cluj. Back to Dolha. Out to the right hand side again. Back into centre midfield. They look good on the ball, the Romanians. But the switch of play's poor. Hankin intercepts. And our long direct play to the front 2 works. As Duffy gets in. Shots blocked. But a good opportunity on the break there. Duffy picks it up left side again. In towards Dean at the back post. It's headed away as far as Cannell. And not really managed to achieve much there. But you can see just from the one I've clicked on, they've got some really good young players, Cluj. They've got Vieru, the skipper, in the centre-half position. He's a wonderful talent. Who to be in link with? Celtic. He's a very good footballer. Plenty of other talents in that squad though, as we've seen. So this Cluj side is going to be very hard to beat and very rapid on the counter-attack. 10 minutes gone though. We'll take 0-0 on the road. The one positive, as we're back with 25 minutes gone for a Hankin throw on the right, is because we've got great facilities now, our youngsters are improving. So Jones has improved, Lewid's come in and improved, rattles the crossbar there. We saw Callum Maguire improve before he moved. Might be a returning face before too long. He's on the transfer list already at Blackburn, and it's not a massive fee. So he's the next one that we've gone to push the boat out a bit for. But so far so good. We've dominated the match. The only problem is we haven't yet scored. And at half time it's goalless in Romania. We've limited them to no shots on target. We've had a few but not taken our chances. I feel if we can nick the away goal, we'd be favourites for the second leg. But as it stands at 0-0, it only takes one counter. As Nassiu goes back to Buja, to Vieru, the skipper. Long ball forward intercepted by Badebo. Time on the ball, comes across halfway, finds Cottrell the number 10. And the good thing with not having much change in the squad is that the players are well linked. They've got good relationships. They play together well on the pitch. But this time Cottrell's greedy and it goes wide at the post. Though the goal kick's poor, it's straight to Jack Hankin. He's got 3 up with him. They're charging in front. Instead he goes back to Riley at centre-half. Chance to play forward here. Don't want him getting caught in possession. Out to Jack Hankin. Plays a 1-2. Please can we get in behind? We do. It's Cannell. Lovely football in the middle here. Riley finds Lewid. Back into Riley again. He's got the winger up in attack. Switches to Brooks instead. Star player finds Duffy. He's got 2 running off him. Dean's one of them. Brooks into Duffy. Brilliant effort. And a wonderful goal. A fluid, excellent passing move from Bangor City. And with 4 minutes gone in the second half, it's Cluj 0, Bangor 1. And this side looks like it's at its best already. And we're just past the hour mark as Hankin gives it away from a throw-in. Cannell will probably be the first sub in this game. He's won it back well there, but he looks tired and he's not been brilliant. As Lewid gets it inside to Riley. He chips it forward towards Max Dean. Another candidate to potentially come off. Cannell gets it wide to Hankin again. Right byline, chance to cross. Goes back instead to Cannell, the safe ball. Releases Hankin again, no. Wonderful cross. Duffy heads in for 2. And surely we will not be going out at the same stage as last season. 2 away goals without reply. And a wonderful start to the season. We look fantastic at the moment. Bangor City comfortable in Europe. Let's go and make a couple of changes. Cannell will be replaced. He's going to come off for Williams. Woods will come on for Lewid in a holding role. We'll make the most of him not getting a booking. And Dean's not had the best game up front. So let's switch Harvey to the right and get the tried and trusted Paul Glatzel on. Although to be fair, Andrew is ranked just as well pretty much. So we'll stick him as the advance forward and keep Duffy on the left where he scored his goals. 20 minutes to go, it's 2-0 Bangor City. It's been a brilliant game so far. Well, the subs diffused the game and perhaps our expected goals suggest we could have nicked a third, but we are delighted with that. After going out at this stage the last 2 seasons, after the disappointing performances we've had at times, to win 2-0 and do such a professional job at a very good side filled with almost all real players, I'm a very happy man. The second leg, hopefully a formality. We'll keep an eye on how the other side's doing their first leg of the Europa Conference in the meantime. Fingers crossed there'll be a lot to look forward to. This could be a big season for Wales, despite our transfer frustration. Second leg time then, and a very interesting week. Lots and lots of scout reports, which may give us some excitement later in the window. What I have learnt about this new chairman so far is he is a lot better at rejecting things, not allowing us to have extra coaches, didn't improve the youth recruitment, wouldn't let me improve some of the facilities. So we might be stunting our development in that sense a bit, but that means we can focus on the pitch. And we've brought one player in who's going to make a massive difference. There's offers coming in for Harvey Lewid, which we are very much rejecting. And in terms of transfers, we've got our centre-half. We've expanded the wage bill a bit, as we mentioned before. And Peter McDermott joins from Middlesbrough. $3,700 a week we're contributing to his wages. By far the highest we've got at the club. But he's a quality centre-half. 3.5-star ability, good on the ball. And I mentioned this in the tactics special many weeks ago. The most important attribute for our defenders is positioning, and it's his strongest one. So fantastic for our system, good on the ball, great positioning, and solid enough everywhere else. He's a very good player with a good personality, and I'd like him to improve it and potentially stay here a while. Just got to get him to stop diving into tackles. But into the second leg we go. Let's have a very quick look at what happened in the Europa Conference ties for the other 3 Welsh sides. Aberystwyth had a tough tie against Derry City of Ireland. Unfortunately, they lost 2-0 in that one. Barrytown United, we mentioned they had a tough test and they lost 3-0 on the road. But TNS, despite potentially losing half of their best players, have managed to win 1-0 at Sūduva, the Lithuanian side. So if they can get to the third qualifier, you never know. It just becomes about luck then. But either way, let's go and get into our second leg. We've got to keep doing our job. We've got to keep building the nation. If we go and get into it, I think we're going to try and stick with the same 11 if possible. In fact, I'll bring Williams in for Cannell because he had a slightly better game. And I'll do the same with Woods. Let's go for experience in the second leg. The rest of the squad can stay the same. McDermott, obviously not eligible. We can't register him till the next qualifying round. So I'll just go and pick the bench that makes it the same 18 as last time. Then we'll go ahead into the second leg. I think we're happy enough with how things went. The only thing I'm really tempted to do is replace Rogers with Peter Holding, because he's a youngster with high potential and I want to get him experience. So he'll be on the bench. The rest is the same. Let's go and get into it. Hopefully, no drama tonight and we're through to the third qualifying round, which guarantees European group stage football in at least one of the 3 competitions. And there we go. Pretty much the same squad, I think. Nassiu, was he the skipper last time? I don't think he was. They must have lost their skipper to Celtic. But the rest of it's largely similar. It's a very decent side, but we've shown we can beat them. We've shown we've got the quality. And if our lads really focus on these games, if our lads really try and push for the group stages, I feel like we can get in one of the top 2 competitions. Because this is going to be one of the hardest qualifiers we have. And so far, at the halfway point, we've dealt with it well. And we've got a throw in on the right early with Hankin. A first goal would be great. As it comes into the box, Duffy loses out to the keeper's punch. Rabbitin tries to clear, but Brooks mugs it off him. He's really quick there, harrying around. Into Duffy on the left wing. Cuts it back to Weaver. There's 4 in the box. He goes back to Archie Woods. Shoots from the edge. And the keeper's made an absolute howler. That is awful keeping. He fumbles it through his hands into the net. And it squirms underneath him. 3-0 on aggregate. And now 3 goals required by Cluj to get any chance of getting through. We've got a free kick again on the right-hand side. Dangerous position for Williams. Headed off the goal line as Brooks was about to attack it and nod in. It falls for Cottrell on the left. Might be replaced again soon by Maguire, but he's won the penalty there. And who's going to take it? Is it Joe Duffy still? It is. A wonderful chance to make it 2. If we do that, Cluj need 4. And I think we can say we're through then. Duffy's put it wide though. Oh, he doesn't often miss them, but that is an atrocious penalty. 20 minutes gone, dominance from Bangor, but only 1-0 due to the missed pen. And we're back again with a throw on the left for Weaver. Into Brooks, it's been a wonderful display. We look fantastic. It's a through ball to Dean, it's a brilliant ball. And the shot's blocked, it's last ditch defending. But wonderful football. We've looked a different side this summer. And even with our weaker players in defence, Keegan Riley's come back brilliant from Exeter. He looks in good shape. We've got McDermott to add into it now. I really feel we can push forward with this side. I'm starting to feel confident. The youngsters are developing. The first teamers are doing well. And we're going to get to rest people in this tie because we have been utterly dominant. And it's 1-0 on the night, 3-0 on aggregate. And Cluj are yet to even have a shot. 25 minutes to go. What a lovely position to be in. Ian Brooks is tired, so we'll bring Woods into midfield. He'll switch sides with Williams maybe. In fact, no, we'll just leave it. Brooks will be replaced by Harvey Lewid in a holding role. We're going to replace Hankin with Riley at right back, where he's better anyway. And Holding, the youngster, will come on at centre half. And actually, because Woods is on a booking, let's just bring on Cannell too. 3 changes made. We've got a centre midfielder in the pipeline. A good loan one and a good permanent one. So if we can get one of those two, we'll probably sell on Benson. And then Williams and Cannell will be the backups. So I don't mind them getting more football. As we're 20 left, we're playing out from the back. Wickens finds Holding, the youngster. Look comfortable on the ball and then chips it forward, but Duffy can't quite get there. What we don't want to do is start conceding goals here. With young centre-halves, that's a risk, but Badebo does well there, finds Cannell. He brings it into Lewid in midfield, to Holding. Has looked really confident so far. Goes wide to Riley, back in his comfort zone at right back. Plays a triangle with Williams, with Holding. Out to Riley, slightly under hit, but still gets there. 4 in the box if he can find it. Williams delivers, Duffy flicks it in. 2-0 on the night, 4-0 on aggregate. Job done. Another stunning move. Another 15-20 passes just around the pitch. And again, all of those chances between the width of the boxes. And we talked about it in the tactical special. The blueprint is there and these boys are following it to a T. As Weaver heads away the Cluj corner at the front post. Cottrell's released as they've committed men forward. There's 2 up with him. He's cut inside. He's challenged but it only falls for Dean. Lovely slid through ball for Duffy. He might have missed a penalty but he has not missed the rest. Slides it under the keeper, in off the inside of the post. And it's 2 for Duffy, 3 for Bangor City. A wonderful, memorable night in Europe. 2 minutes of stoppage time up, no further highlights. A brilliant experience for the youngsters, a wonderful win in Europe. And to be honest, if TNS get through in the Europa Conference as well, this could start to be very special for Welsh football. But I couldn't be happier with that. And of course, we've got a third qualifier to look forward to. Something we haven't achieved in the last 2 seasons. Progress being made. However, we don't know how far that progress is going to go because we've next got Victoria Pelzen of the Czech Republic. They've got a brilliant midfielder to start with. It's been there 7 years on 16 grand a week worth £5 million. Before he was at Ipswich, Brentford. So he's at Brentford in real life. He's a quality player. He's the only one in the first team, but I'm presuming they'll have youngsters. They have, and there's some good ones as well. Worth plenty of money, got plenty of good attributes. So this could be a really interesting tie. A bit like the Cluj one, but probably a next level up. What we've got to do is try and get through to the playoff. Because if we can get in the Champions League financially, it'll really allow us to gamble next year. Duffy the star there. Victoria Pelzen the side we'll face next week. We'll of course find out at that point if TNS have got through as well. I doubt the other 2 will stage a brilliant comeback. But 1 out of 3 is not bad. And if they can get a lucky draw there, who knows, they might even reach the playoff round. But let me know in the comments what you thought of the transfer work and those 2 performances in Europe. If you did enjoy the episode, please put a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below for daily FM21 content from 2 long-term stories. Yesterday's transfer special from the head coach with Tottenham is up in the eye above. And there's a link to all the other playlists and the podcast channel too. But a massive thank you for watching, for following along for another season. There's excitement, there's progress, and hopefully there's more to come. I'll see you next time to see if we can reach the playoff round.